What's up, y'all? First off, I'd like to thank you for stumbling onto this channel. If you found your way here one way or another, I'd like to thank you. And I would like to start my first how-to video with how I generally process my photos in Photoshop for color correction in Lightroom. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, yeah? Once you have uploaded your photo in Lightroom, first select the photo you want to work on. Today, I'm going to be using this photo of Michelle. Now, the photo is good. It was taken on a very overcast morning at the beach. This was taken on a pier. I selected this location to give it a more blurred background and better depth of field. As you can see, she's beautiful as is. It's a perfect photo to start off a video by making some slight touch-ups. So once you selected your photo, and I'm assuming you have Photoshop installed as well as Adobe Bridge, just right click on your image and select Edit In. Now another thing is going to pop up. Choose Edit in Adobe Photoshop and it will open up an image in Photoshop for you. And once you're in Photoshop, you want to separate your colors from your textures. This is going to let you work on your colors or your textures without affecting either or. Now I already have a preset, so I'm not going to cover how to do this on this video, but I will cover it on another video in the link in the description below. Once you have your textures and colors separated, you can easily work on the textures. Pretty much like, a coloring book. So the first thing you do is you want to even out the colors of the areas that need to be evened out. So first I use the Lasso Tool. I generally have it set to about 15 pixel feather. This will vary depending on the resolution of your image taken by your camera. I'm working on a 36 megapixel photo, so chances are if you're above or below that, you will want to lower or set this higher. Once you've selected the Lasso Tool, just carefully select the area you want to even out. Just be very careful not to select too close to the edge of the area you want to work on. What's going to happen is, since you're going to be blurring out that area, it might end up grabbing some of the other colors that are surrounding it if you're too close to the edge. Once you have it selected, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and it will even out the colors without disturbing the textures in your photo. Now, I usually have this at 16.6, and again, if your camera is a little bit different or your resolution is a little bit different on your photo, you're gonna have to set this a little lower or higher and just hit OK. And as you can see, like, it will even out the colors very nicely. Not too much to make her look a little bit more like a mannequin or that kind of thing, but just enough to even those little rough patches. And already you can see that it's looking a little bit better without even touching the textures. Now, personally, depending on the lighting situation on your photo, bags under the eyes might pop up here and there. Now, hers is not too bad. I could leave it alone if I want to, but we're gonna go ahead and do it anyway, just because it's not so prominent on the left rather than the right. Touch up the elbows a little bit. There you go. And it's looking good. The model I'm working on, she has really fair skin and she's not going to need much touch-ups at all. But for the sake of the tutorial, we'll touch up what we can anyway. So for this, you'll want to move on to your textures layer and select your clone stamp tool. You can also set the size of the brush by right-clicking on the photo and select one that works for you. You want to touch up parts that you want to fix. For her, I want to touch up some of the bumps, but not overdo it. I still want her to have that realistic skin texture and not look like a cartoon or a mannequin. So I start by cloning an area close to the area I want to touch up. Do that by holding down Alt and release when you're ready to apply that area to the area you're working on. And generally, if it's a really up close picture like this one, I would kind of aggressively touch up. But fortunately for her, we don't really need that. She's got really nice skin, but we do want to kind of get rid of the little ones that kind of show up. Touch up some of the rough surfaces. Pretty much want to take out anything that's not normally supposed to be on the face. A little bit more here. And depending on how you want your photo to look, I personally like to kind of get rid of wrinkle lines, laugh lines, forehead lines. Hers is not really even noticeable, but I'm going to do it anyway just for the tutorial. And a little bit of the marks that the waistband on her pants left. You know, things like that. Things that are not supposed to be on the skin, like marks. Touch up. Hit Control S, and you're done. I'm perfectly happy with this, and we're good. I generally do not flatten an image just in case I miss something and I want to go back into Photoshop and fix something. So let's go ahead and go back to Lightroom, and it should be there. So about 2 decades ago, I used to color comic books for a living, so I definitely kept that crisp and vibrant style. I also try to keep a consistent feel throughout all my photos. So to help me achieve that in post-processing, I do have presets so I can process more photos much faster and adjust some sliders depending on the photo. For this video, I will go through everything that's in my preset, then work from there. As you can see, I shoot in RAW, so the photo is pretty flat. The first thing I do is give it a teal and orange feel. I definitely like that style. I do that by going to the camera calibration setting and adjust the red to about 50, then the blue to -100, and you can see that the colors pop out more. Depending on the monitor you're using, colors may be different, but this one works for me. Next thing I do is go all the way back to basic settings and run through all the sliders there. Usually the first thing I do is bump down the blacks, then the shadows, then bump up the whites to where her facial structure kind of pops out more. Last thing I do, I play around with the highlights. This one can go either way, up or down, depending on the photo. The exposure I play around with a little bit, not too much, especially if the photo was taken pretty good right off the camera. Now, the contrast. Contrast for me is very dangerous. A little adjustment can easily mess up your photo, so I generally just leave it alone. I don't touch it. And now you can see she's a little bit too orange for my taste, so I'm going to see if I can desaturate the orange a little bit more. I'm going to go back down to the HSL setting, go into saturation for the orange, and bring this down just a little bit. Her skin's a little darker than what it actually is, so I'm going to bump up the luminance just a little bit. And okay, so it's looking nice, vibrant, crisp, all the while keeping that kind of dramatic look. But I think we can make it a little bit more crisp. What I usually do is, what I usually do last is go over the photo with the adjustment tool and bump up the clarity for the brush. So what I want is to make everything that's supposed to be tack sharp even more tack sharp. So I'm going to adjust the size of the brush to cover parts of her hair and go through it. left, then right. Then adjust the brush again to cover her eyebrows and her upper eyelashes. There you go. Alright. What I see often out there on Instagram with photographers doing their own retouches is overdoing eyes, making them pop out so much that it's not realistic. A lot of my model friends say that, say this a lot, never mess with a girl's blue eyes. And I see that a lot done with children too, and that's just straight out creepy. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, select the adjustment brush again, and adjust the size of the brush by using the scroll wheel, just enough to cover that colored part. I'm just going to do the left eye first, right, either way. Go into the sliders and adjust exposure or whites, doesn't really matter, whichever works. And I'm going to tweak it a little bit, zoom out, zoom back in. Okay, it's pretty good. I'm going to do the other eye. Alright, another quick check, zoom out, zoom back in, and I think we're good. Zoom back out, and there you go. Now her eyes are rather a little bit blue, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the adjustment brush again and just kind of like desaturate it or make it a little bit warmer. Too warm, desaturate it a little bit, and there you go. I think that's good. Zoom back out, and there you go. Post-processed versus the original, and that's how I normally edit my photos. Some photos require more attention than others, but I'm pretty happy with this one, and we're done. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I'm going to be posting more tutorials soon, so subscribe, hit that like button, the usual YouTube mumbo jumbo. Peace.